Are big tech jobs really losing their prestige and attractiveness? Is the golden age of FAANG over? Let's talk about it.
Post-pandemic hiring boom may be coming to an end, with both job openings and job growth slowing in recent months.
Job postings in tech are down hard across the country, dropping more than 20%.
From Amazon to Meta, all major tech companies are reporting reductions in their workforces.
Hi friends, I'm Maddie. As a senior software engineer who previously worked at Google and interned at other big tech companies like Amazon, IBM, and Microsoft, I'm a first-hand example of someone who left big tech for somewhere else. As a disclaimer, this video isn't going to be about my personal reasons for leaving Google, so if you're interested in that, please consider subscribing and I'll share more about that in the future. And for the record, I absolutely loved my time in big tech and it was really hard for me to leave, but I do think it was the right decision for me personally for the stage I was in my career. Anyway, as you know, working at a big tech company used to be seen as the ultimate goal for many software engineers. The high salaries, the fancy perks, the prestige, it was the dream. But especially within the last few years, we're seeing a shift. More and more engineers are leaving these coveted positions to pursue other opportunities. It seems like some of the best programmers are leaving for other pastures. So what's going on? Why are so many talented people turning away from what seems like the perfect job? In this video, we'll talk about what makes these companies so alluring in the first place, why engineers are leaving, where they're choosing to go instead, and what this might all mean for you. Whether you're a student dreaming of cracking Google or Meta, a junior engineer considering your next move, or a senior engineer wondering about your next step, I hope this video might be insightful. Before we dive into the nitty-gritty though, let's start by chatting about why big tech is, or was, so attractive. First, obviously, there's the money. Big tech companies are known for paying quite well. We're talking about high salaries, stock, and generous benefits. If you're curious, you can go to levels.fyi and look at some of the numbers yourself. It's a huge factor, especially for those just starting their careers, and often it's significantly more than what you might find at some smaller companies or in other industries. This financial security can be a major factor in choosing a career path, as it allows engineers to pay off student loans quickly, buy homes, and invest for the future. Beyond the base salary, the total compensation packages often include bonus and equity that can be incredibly valuable if the company performs well. As a concrete example of how stocks can affect your pay, my pay personally last year actually was $50K more in real life as compared with what was written in my annual compensation letter at the beginning of the year because Google stock went up a lot. As an aside, I also know there can be a lot of confusion on if base and equity translate to true money, so I'll just clarify it here. At Google and other FAANG companies, the annual bonus is always an extra 15% or more of your base pay unless you got a bad performance review. And equity at Google are shares of Google stock that are granted to you and typically vest monthly. Once they vest, you can then directly sell them for real money. Besides just the dollar amounts, there's the prestige. Working for a well-known company like Google, Amazon, or Microsoft looks great on a resume. It carries a certain weight and can open doors to other opportunities down the line. These companies are often seen as leaders with high hiring bars, so having their name on your resume signals to future employers that you've worked in a challenging and cutting-edge environment. This can be extremely beneficial early on in your career as it can provide a strong foundation for future job searches. During university, a lot of my friends interned at big tech companies not because they actually wanted to work in FAANG for the long term, but rather because they knew those internships would give them credibility for the future if they wanted to start a startup or something else. In addition to carrying prestige, big tech companies also offer a lot of resources. They have cutting-edge technology, massive data sets, dedicated teams to improve internal tooling, more money to burn, and smart colleagues. It's a great environment to learn and grow as an engineer. You also have opportunities to attend conferences and training sessions. This can accelerate your professional development and help you stay at the forefront of the industry. And next, of course, we gotta talk about the perks. I'm sure you've heard about the free food, on-site gyms, laundry service, and so much more. While I was at Google, I definitely used a lot of these. I ate all of my meals at Google, went to the gym every single day, even on weekends to run, did all my laundry while I was at the gym on campus, and stopped by Google offices in more than 10 countries while I was traveling for fun just for the free food, gym, and amenities. I'm also very grateful for the good medical insurance that Google gives its employees. And lastly, I want to talk about the concept of golden handcuffs, which refers to the comp and perks that big tech companies offer as incentives to keep their employees. Big tech companies pay well and have so many perks that it can be so hard to leave. Engineers will get used to a certain lifestyle, and the thought of taking a pay cut or giving up these perks can be truly daunting. I certainly felt this when I was deciding to and then preparing to leave. Because of this phenomenon, engineers might be less likely to start their own companies or join startups because they don't want to give up the security of a big tech job. However, despite all of these incentives, there are downsides to working in big tech. For example, let's talk about money again. I previously did mention the high compensation. During the tech industry's boom years, the compensation was so significant that you could potentially get very rich quickly by working a regular 9 to 5 just at a big tech company. However, the crazy stock returns we saw back then are mostly not happening anymore. That level of growth is honestly just not sustainable as these gigantic companies get bigger and bigger. In addition, there's also a natural compensation cliff, often dubbed the 4-year cliff, which refers to when an employee's initial stock grant finishes vesting after 4 years, and the refreshers they get every year is not enough to offset that often hefty initial grant. Besides this cliff, big tech companies also sometimes decrease stock compensation and total compensation as the market becomes more competitive. And to be fair, it's not just big tech companies doing this. Because the market in 2025 isn't doing too hot right now, we're seeing this trend all over the entire industry. The pay is still quite good, it's just not as good as it used to be. One other issue is impact. In a large company like a FAANG one, it can be hard to see the direct influence of your work. You might be working on a small piece of a massive project, and it can feel like you're a cog in a machine, which can then lead to a sense of disconnect and lack of fulfillment. Many engineers want to build things from the ground up and see the results of their efforts instead of just contributing to the bottom line of a huge company. In their earlier years, these big tech companies were the cool, exciting places to build features where engineers could dream up, prototype, and pitch innovative projects. For example, Gmail was first built as a small Google 20% project. Facebook Messenger came out of a hackathon. But nowadays, to get a project up and running, engineers in big tech often have to navigate red tape and approvals, which brings me to my next point, bureaucracy and politics. Big companies often have complex processes and a lot of red tape, which are probably necessary to some extent, but also slows down development and makes it hard to get things done quickly. I used to say that I know Google actually truly cared about the privacy of its users because, in spite of what the jokes and memes online say, it was so frustratingly difficult for me to get access to aggregated anonymous data despite being a software engineer on Google search with business reasons to do so and managerial approval. As for the internal politics, I know power struggles are a phenomenon in every single workplace, but in big tech, they can be magnified when you have so many teams, stakeholders, and competing priorities. Sometimes what's best for an individual's career in big tech is not necessarily what's best for the codebase and for their department as a whole. With this bureaucracy and politics, innovation in big tech can take longer than necessary. Even though FAANG companies are known for pushing the envelope and doing great research, they can also become complacent and hesitant to take risks. A perfect example is how ChatGPT took off. Google honestly didn't take OpenAI seriously as a competitor at first, and by the time they realized its true potential, OpenAI had already gained significant traction and Google had to play catch up. Engineers in big tech might feel like their groundbreaking ideas are overlooked or delayed by a risk-averse culture, leaving them frustrated and stuck on outdated projects. So if engineers are leaving big tech, where exactly are they going? Historically, when big tech engineers left one big tech company, it was often for another big tech company, often for more pay and perhaps even a bump in level. Returning back to the same company later, which is known as boomeranging, was actually super common. After all, the prestige of having multiple top-tier names on the resume only added to an engineer's market value. Nowadays, though, this is not always the case. Headcount is tighter, there's more competition, and comp packages across companies are no longer as shiny as they used to be. As a result, a lot of big tech engineers are joining startups or founding their own. After a few years in big tech, they've usually built up savings, a solid resume, and sometimes even an idea that they've been sitting on for a while. So launching a startup is a pretty common path, and so is joining an existing early stage startup. At startups, you'll often find a faster pace, more ownership, and less bureaucracy. Also, while the internal tools at FAANG are super powerful, they're often not transferable depending on what you're building and which company. Unlike at a startup where you'll be most likely using standard technologies in the stack, in big tech, a lot of the infrastructure and tooling is abstracted away by internal frameworks, deployment systems, and monitoring tools that are highly customized for that particular company's needs. A lot of engineers are also leaving big tech for remote work opportunities, especially as companies like Amazon start mandating 5-day RTO, or return to office. During the pandemic, many big tech companies went fully remote, but now most are shifting back to hybrid or in-office setups. For engineers unable or unwilling to go back to the office, remote work offers the flexibility that they need. You get to choose where you live, set your own schedule, and work from anywhere, whether that's a cozy home office or a beach. Remote work may also open up global job opportunities, letting them work for companies anywhere in the world. And finally, I've seen a lot of engineers, including quite a few friends, leave big tech for academia. Whether that's going back to school for a PhD, doing research at universities or research labs, getting an MBA, or something else like working for OpenAI. For people who want to advance the theoretical side of tech, this route can be super fulfilling. For example, doing a PhD program would allow you to focus intensely on your specific area of interest, whether it's AI, formal analysis, HCI, or something niche. In industry, your success is often measured by tangible results, things you can ship, metrics you can move, which naturally filters out riskier, more exploratory ideas. For those who want more formal training in how to do research more autonomously, doing research in academia could be the move. To sum up my thoughts here, the decision of whether to leave big tech is a very personal one with no right or wrong answer, and even though big tech obviously still is a great place to be, there are many other ways to a successful and fulfilling career in software engineering. And that's all I have for you in this video. Thank you so much for watching, and please feel free to hit that subscribe button if you want to see more software engineering resources and career tips. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.